It had been a long campaign, and the party had been fighting many of the minions, many of the sub bosses, but now they finally stood face to face with the ultimate boss. Turns out it was a wizard and a warlord, a person who had grown extremely powerful through the collection of rare artifact level magic items, reading mysterious tomes that increased his abilities to nearly godlike level, and wearing all sorts of magical items that he thought would protect him. But as the battle raged, Connie the cleric moved ever closer, and then she flung out her hand and she said, "I strike thee down," casting harm. And suddenly, in an instant, the man withered. "Ah! Ah!" He cried out, and he was wrecked as horrible disease instantaneously coursed through his body. And standing before them was a weakened old figure. Fred the fighter just took his great sword and lopped his head off. And a great victory was celebrated by the party. Hey everybody, I'm your host DM Gallibond. This is Divine Thursday for November 26, 2020. And today we are looking at the Harm spell. The Harm spell is a spell that's been around in D&D. We're going to take a look back at where it has come from and see how it works today, and sort of take a look at the similarities and differences of the spell along the way. All right, so let's go ahead and get on with the show. All right. Harm goes all the way back to first edition, and you'll see that we're not looking at a spell called Harm, we're looking at a spell called Heal. But notice it's a reversible spell. Because back in the day, they didn't have as many spells, but they had spells that you could cast reversibly. And the reverse of the spell is, in fact, called Harm. All right, so what do these spells do? First of all, it's a level 6 spell, and it required touch back in those days. Very potent heal spell, enables the cleric to wipe away disease and injury, and the creature receives the benefits of the spell. The reverse, Harm, infects the victim with a disease and causes loss of all hit points as damage except for 1d4 hit points. So it reduces the victim down to 1d4 hit points if a successful touch is inflicted. For creatures not affected by the heal or harm spell, see Cure Light Wounds. Well, so in other words, there is already a little backdoor built into this. Okay, there's a caveat. It won't affect certain creatures. Well, what creatures won't it affect? There you had to go look up a different spell. Okay, this healing will not affect creatures without corporeal bodies, so can't be like, uh, spiritual spirits or things like that. Nor will it cure the wounds of creatures not living, so won't affect undead, or those which can be harmed by only iron, silver, and/or magical weapons, so it won't affect lycanthropes. So that means that harm in first edition would not affect werewolves or other kinds of lycanthropes. You couldn't use it against them. So that's the thing there. All right, now second edition, heal and harm. Again, 6th level spell, very potent heal spell enables the priest to wipe away disease and injury in any creature who receives the benefits. yada yada yada. Reverse harm infects the creature with disease and causes all but 1d4 hit points of damage if a successful touch is inflicted. And once again, same caveat, will not work on creatures that are unaffected by the Cure Light Wound spell. All right, now in 3rd edition, they finally got away from the reversible thing and they made things their own spells. And it just so happens that the way the 3rd edition player's handbook is, you have harm and heal sitting side by side. So, harm is a cleric, 6th level spell, requires touch. Harm charges a subject with negative energy. It deals 10 points of damage per caster level to a maximum of 150 points at 15th level. If the creature successfully saves, harm deals half this much damage, but it cannot reduce target's hit points to less than 1. So if used on undead creature, harm acts like heal. So actually, this thing says that, first 2 editions imply that harm will not affect undead. It'll affect undead, but it'll actually make them stronger or heal their injuries. And maximum of 150 hit points, but you can't reduce the target's total to less than 1. Now, this is worded a little bit odd. I mean, this is kind of worded almost as poorly as the Second Amendment in terms of the amount of confusion that it can cause. So it deals 10 points of damage to him. If the creature successfully saves, harm deals half this amount, but it cannot reduce the target's hit point to less than 1. So, does that mean that if the creature successfully saves, it cannot reduce the target's hit points to less than 1? Or does it mean that harm cannot reduce the target's hit points to less than 1? Well, we're not playing 3rd edition rules anymore, so it's kind of hard to argue one way or the other on that. But that would have been, I don't know. I think that should have been worded a little bit differently to make it clear whether the can't reduce to less than 1 only applies in a save condition or applies all the time. All right, so harm 6th level spell. Instantaneous, 1 action, verbal somatic, and then range is 60 feet. So it does not require touch in this one. And what harm does, you unleash a virulent disease on a creature that you can see within range. Disease, that's important. Target must make a Constitution save. On a failed save, it takes 14d6 necrotic damage, or half as much damage on a successful save. Damage can't reduce the target's hit points below 1. Okay, now see here, it makes. See, here it's very clear. On a failed save, it takes 14d6, or half as much on a successful save. That's all one thing. Separate thought. Damage cannot reduce the target's hit points below 1. Full stop. Doesn't matter whether they save or they don't. Can't reduce it below 1. That's better. So, if the target fails saving throw, hit points maximum is reduced for 1 hour by an amount equal to the necrotic damage it took. So now this is something that, okay, so that's similar as well as reducing the maximum hit points. But, 14d6. So let's just say you have a little higher than average rolls, you deal 60 hit points. Also means that their hit point maximum is reduced by 60. So even if they get healing, they can't go back up above that maximum. Because, if they were already injured, let's say they're down 20 hit points, you hit them with this, you deal another 60 hit points. So they're down 80 from their max. If they get healed, they can only go back up to 60 below their max. All right. Any effect that removes disease allows a creature's hit point maximum to return to normal before that time passes. All right, so the harm spell pretty potent. Very, very much something that will mess up your day if it gets used against you, and something that you can use against other creatures. Now, notice disease being important, necrotic being important. So, anything that resists or is immune to necrotic damage will resist or be immune to this. Anything that is immune to disease or resists disease will resist or immune this. The way I think I would rule it is if you resist disease, you would get advantage on your saving throw. If you resist necrotic damage, then you would just half whatever the damage total is. So that is the way I would rule it as a DM at my table on this. And then obviously, if you're immune to disease or immune to necrotic, then you don't even take any damage, period. All right, everyone. That's going to do it for Divine Thursday for this week. I have been DM Gallibond. Today we've been talking about harm. If you like everything that we're doing here on the channel, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, click that post notification bell so that you too can be notified every time a new piece of content drops. And with that, thank you all for watching. I invite you to take a look at some of the other things we have here on the channel, and we hope that we will see you back here next week for the next edition of Divine Thursday. Good night, everybody.